Hey, my name is Natalie Mead. We're getting into the third part of how do you build an application on Snowflake and how do you collaborate.
Essentially, you've got an app store or a data store. Customers can do a search on our marketplace to find data sets that's available to them, both free and also at cost. They can actually join their data directly inside their Snowflake account.
Discover is a window for us into the world of Snowflake developers.
We're going to go through an end-to-end scenario of building a data application with Snowflake. We're going to start with a database, building that on Snowflake, build a backend API that connects securely to that database and grabs the data for us, serves it out to a front-end application and visualizes it.
This is proving that we're real people.
We are real people, yes.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back once again, and welcome to folks who are joining us for the very first time to prove that I am also not a bot. I'll just quickly wave my hands at you and then no, this is not recorded. My name is Farhan Chaudhary. I am the evangelist for Snowflake in India, and thank you so much for joining Snowflake Discover. Now, before we go into the depths of our session and essentially give you all of the Snowflake goodness, I'll just quickly walk you through some of the housekeeping items. For those of you who are joining us once again, you already know about this. Grab yourselves a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. And for those of you who are new, just let me quickly walk you through what we've been doing for the past couple of months. Now, Snowflake Discover, essentially what we aim to do with Snowflake Discover is to inform you, educate you, empower you with the power of Snowflake. How it's a single platform, a cohesive single platform that helps everyone eliminate silos and simplify architecture, how it's programmable, how it's flexible, how it provides you openness and connectivity. You can build models with the language of your choice, machine learning models, and you can essentially take your data from just being data to insights and then deliver some really cool leading applications at scale, which is something that really sets us apart. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, some housekeeping items. This is a live-only event. Sessions are not recorded. And this is to encourage you to ask as many questions as you want. Throughout this session, we have an expert panel at hand. So make sure you ask as many questions and we'll answer these questions for you in a jiffy. It's not too late to invite your friends, your colleagues to Discover. So if you think this content is going to be relevant for them in their work, in their professional lives, just share the link to the Discover registration page with them. They should be able to register in under 2 minutes, and then they'll get an invite and they'll be with you in this session shortly. And since you've been asking for a lot of content, you've been asking for slides and quick starts, I'll just take a pause here, let you take a screen grab of this, scan the QR code. You'll get all of these resources in this web link that we'll populate in some time. So make sure that you keep this link handy, or if not, you can always reach out to us via LinkedIn, via any social channels to us, any of the speakers, and we'll get you all of this content in your inbox in no time. That said, the Discover journey, what it has been so far, we've been doing this for the past couple of months. As I said, we've done data lake, data warehousing in part 1 in April. We have done data science, data engineering, very well attended, most sought out session in the series. And what we are doing today and tomorrow, we are going to be doing applications, end-to-end applications and collaboration. We have already done 2 sessions since the morning. This is the last session for the day where we are going to be talking about building visualizations, building front ends with Snowflake, and ask questions, because that's important. And this is something that really sets Snowflake apart. We are going to be running through collaboration tomorrow, which is essentially monetizing your data. So the journey that you can take through Snowflake is bring your data, gather some insights, build models, make predictions, create nice little applications out of it, and monetize all of that data, all of those services, all of that applications. You can monetize that using Marketplace, which is something that we are going to be covering tomorrow. So make sure that you join us tomorrow as well. And something that we promised since the very beginning, that there's going to be a surprise part 4 in July. And I'm happy to announce that this is going to be the Best of Summit. Summit is our global conference that we run towards the end of June every year. This is going to be the Best of Summit. The Discover Best of Summit is going to be on 20th, 19th, and 20th of July. So we'll bring you some of the really cool announcements that happened at Summit, essentially in your inbox. So make sure you join us in July as well. And the journey, yes, what we have been doing since the morning is we have talked about the different deployment models available to you in Snowflake, app dev models that are available to you in Snowflake. We have talked about APIs, and now is the most exciting part where we are going to talk about building front ends and visualizations in Snowflake. And for that, I don't think there is anyone else other than Manny Kubel, who is a resident veteran. He's a principal data platform architect from the Field CDO team. He's joining us from Israel. So truly a global team joining us today. I'll welcome Manny, and with that, hand it over to you. Manny, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, great. So excited and glad to be here. Thanks, Farhan, for the introduction. I'm going to present the last lab. It's lab number 6, which is basically the web frontend. So we'll see how everything is connected end to end, and how at the end we can provide value to our user, the ones that are using the data application. Then I will do some kind of a wrap up and of course Q&A, and let's start.
All right, take it away.
Thanks. Okay, can you see my presentation?
Not yet.
Loading. Now, sorry. Yeah, can you see it now?
Yes, it's here. All yours.
Great. So let's start. Okay, web frontend. Let's see how basically you can implement the UI part. And again, there's a ton of choices which framework and technology you can choose in order to implement the UI part. You can use React, Angular, and there are many more. Again, you feel free to choose any one that you would like, or anyone that basically aligns with your team expertise. You should use HTTP libraries to fetch data from the processing layer, the one that Venkat presented. Of course, once you are hitting this API and calling this API, you need to pass the arguments to the API endpoints, arguments like start time, end time, and more, track ID, and more, of course. And there is also the login part, which was presented by Venkat, about how basically you manage the login with the token and all the authorization and authentication of this part. For this demo, I will use React. This is the framework that we selected for this demo, and it will run locally on my laptop. But again, there are all kinds of ways. Of course, running it locally on the laptop, it's not a production grade application. It's just for the purpose of the demo. But basically, you can choose all kinds of way and options how you can deploy the front-end part, and of course, all the rest of the processing and the main storage there, the database layer, which is Snowflake. You have all kinds of ways to do that. You can host it on a server, running Node.js on a virtual machine, spot instance, whatever it will be. You can do it on a kind of a cluster framework or container framework. Kubernetes is a very famous one. So you can run it on EKS on Amazon, which is basically a managed Kubernetes, or JKE on Google, or the equivalent one in Azure. Sorry, I didn't add here the Azure example. We don't really care. And there are many other choices, okay? How you can basically deploy, and you should select the best options, how you can manage it easily and operate and maintenance and provide the user at the end the quality that you would like to have. Again, as I said, I will do that locally, Node.js on my laptop. Just to review what we did until now and what we're gonna do in the following presentation. So Alan presented basically, that was the first session. He presented all the work and all the configuration and the modeling and the building the data in the storage layer, in the database layer, right? We discussed all kinds of topics, like if it will be basically we use here a multi-tenant table. We use the order tables, how you build a service account, how you build your pooled compute, So this is what Alan presented, right? How you create a data warehouse, how you modelize the data, test your queries using Snowflake, create the user, create the roles, create the privileges in order to build all the database and the storage layer. Venkat presented how you can build the backend or the processing layer using Express and Node.js, again, locally, and how it basically you build all the API endpoints in order to run the query on Snowflake and return the result to the front end. And this is what we will see later on. And again, everything was done locally. Venkat also did an amazing work to demonstrate stress testing. So that's very important. And we do have in Snowflake our scalability that we will also talk later. And Venkat presented how you can run it on a single warehouse, how you can scale up this single warehouse into all kinds of, we call it t-shirt size. We have all kinds of scale options from extra small to extra large and more. And then basically how you can do that efficiently because you have a lot of users that are using the data application. Concurrent queries are hitting the warehouse. All the rest of the scalability option, they are queued. You would like to provide a good experience to the user. So you can use the multi-cluster scalability where basically Snowflake will bring up more warehouse once queries will be queued. So for me, as a front-end developer, I'm pretty sure that everything is set up by my colleagues, Alan and Venkat, and I can focus basically on the front-end layer. What I'm going to present here in the demonstration is basically how we're going to build the front-end layer in React. And we will run it and we'll see everything, how it is basically everything is connected. So that's basically the lab says. We'll do some setup for React, again, using the same GitHub repo that you will get later on, and you will have everything wrap up for you in the quick start. How I map the API calls to the backend API, how I capture parameters from inputs or environments like the login, how I run the Node.js locally to serve the React application, and basically test end-to-end with Express middle tier from previous lab. Okay, so I will now, let's open the lab number 6, that's the quick start. And as I said, this lab will take you through building a React.js frontend that can then be displayed in your favorite browser. And I will review some of the steps. I won't physically done every step of it, but the most part I will, of course, I will demo. So the first part is basically to set up your local environment. You need to, we are basically working in the front-end directory. So let me just present this one quickly, a minute. Okay, so that's, no, sorry, that's not the one. So this is the Git repository, right? This is the workspace. I have the backend where basically we can presented all the routes and all the app.js and all the authentication and all the work. I'm mainly going to focus on the front-end directory. And we'll review all the important files here later on. I'm going back to the quick start. There's an environment.example that you need basically to copy to environment file. I already did that. So I have it over here. Basically, it contains only two configuration, which is the port for the front end and also the React app API URL, which is localhost 3000. That's the port. I'm running locally already the backend. This is the part that Venkat presented. It's already running for me. I'm mainly going to focus on the front end. Again, it's running locally. Okay. Good. In order to run the application, the front end part, I just hit the npm start, and basically I can check it that it's running on localhost and port 3001. Now let's review the code layout. And again, I won't review all the files in the front end directory, but I will view the main ones. Okay. The first one is login.js. Basically, once the user start and open the application, he needs to log in. He needs to provide the username and password. This is basically the username and password that will be used all over to authenticate the user and also authorize the user. Login CSS, we want to dig into the CSS file, but basically, as you all know, as a web developers, front-end developers, we are doing a separation between the business logic and the API and all the rest of the styles that this page will be used. So that's the first page. Second page is home.js, which is basically, it contains the HTML and the JavaScript code required to render the main page, which is the franchise view page. And we will see this page, and it basically contains three widgets that we will present in that page. Of course, the home CSS, basically the file that save the style for the franchise view. And the last one is basically details.js, which contains all the HTML and JavaScript code required for render a track detail view. It's another page that once the user would like to drill down into a track level, he will click the button, and we'll see that later in the application, and basically will hit another page that will present details for a specific track. Good. So let's start. Let's first build a franchise overview UI. And in order to do that, basically the first thing that I need to do is to define a variable, okay, which this is basically the top 10 countries variable. This is the set function for that variable, and I'll just copy paste this one. Oops, sorry. And let's open the code. So here I am. This is the front-end, SRC, pages, home.js, right? This is the home CSS with all the CSS definition. This is the home.js, and I will just paste it here. Okay. Good. So that's the first step. All right. Okay. Next one is basically to the function. This is the function that once the widget will basically call this function in order to call the backend API, and we can see here the fetch with the URL, right? This is the URL that I have in the environment file, and all the rest of the parameters that I need to pass into this API call. Sorry guys, my dog is in my room, so sometimes you'll hear some weird noises. If it will be too uncomfortable, I'll just let him get out. Okay, so that's basically the function. I will copy paste it here. Okay, it's called fetch top 10 countries. This is the method get. This is the header, right? Of course, I have the barrier token, access token. Here it's very important. And I also fetch the backend API, get the response, and basically set this parameter that I just created that will be rendered in the widget. Okay, this is the parameter. Okay, good. Back to the quick start. Next thing is I need to add basically to add it into the use effect method. The use effect method is basically a hook that allows you to perform side effects in your components, in UI components. Basically, when you run some, you want to fetch some data. That's exactly the use case that we have. You want to call some backend API. This is the method that you add. So I'll just copy paste this one. Back to the code, and let's search for the use effect. And I add the call basically here. It's basically calls this function which we just created, okay, and copy paste before. Okay. Back to the quick start. Last thing that we need to do is basically to build a widget, right? We would like to display this specific top 10 countries widget, and that's the definition of the widget. Let's copy paste this one. Back to home.js. And basically, if I will review the HTML code of this file, I can see that I have 3 widget. This is 1. This is 2. And basically that's provide us the tick formatter. Sorry, the name is, where is it? I lost it. Yeah, that's basically the top 10 tracks widget. And the last one is basically the year-to-date revenue by country. Well, I would like to basically add this widget definition. Let me format a bit the code here. Good. So that's the definition of the widget. A minute, sorry guys. A minute, sorry for the noise. Okay, good. So I'm ready. Let's save. Basically, that's the first widget that I created. And now what I will basically would like to do is to test it, okay? But before I'm doing that, again, there are more steps to add more widgets to this specific page. So those basically are the rest of the function. I won't present each one of them because basically it's the same. You create a variable, you create a function, and then, you create a variable, you create a function, and you do that for each one of the widgets, okay? So I basically won't present each one of them, but if I will go back to the page, this is basically all the rest of the widgets that we're going to present in the page. And those are basically the function here that I'm calling in the use effect. And basically, here are the rest of the variables that are created for each one of them and the function that will set this value. Great. So we are ready to hit and open the UI. Again, I have already my backend running in the background, and I will hit my UI. I'm in the Frontend directory. Let's double check that I don't have anything running here on this port 3001. Good, everything is clean. And now we'll just hit the npm start, and that will start my UI. Good, my UI is running. Yes, a minute. Basically, this is the UI. So let's log in. I will just use one of the usernames that already, sorry. And I'll hit the login. Good. And that's basically the first page. And here I can see those 3 widgets that I just created. The one that I created is the top 10 countries. It's present the top 10 countries, right? We have a filter by date from, day to. The next one is basically the 10 top tracks. And the last one is the year-to-date revenue by country. Now, this should be very familiar with you because what Alan presented is basically how he created the storage layer, the database layer, and did all the model work in order to be able to run those queries. Venkat also presented how he created the endpoint for each one of those widgets. And now basically I presented how using React I can present that basically and provide a value to my user, my data application user. Good. Let's get back to the quick start. So we are here, we run the UI, everything is working well, but I would like to present that here I have another, basically a button that I would like to drill down into a track details page. And let's do that very quickly. Let's go back to the code. And the only thing that I need to add here is basically a function call. Okay, let me just find this one. I already have the button in the UI. I just need to connect it into a redirection. Redirect it, okay? And let me just find quickly this one. Here it is, okay? So if basically the user click the Go Details button, it is navigate into a new page, and that's the page, it's details.js. let's just quickly find this button. Okay. It should be here, exactly, that's the one. Okay, this is the button. If I'll open the application, that's exactly the track details button. Okay. Here you see this is the description and the image that I saw in the UI. Let's review the details. Basically, the details is very similar to the home.js. I'll just review the UI, the HTML part. It's basically contains 3 widgets. Okay. Also, we should be familiar with those because again, it's related to the API layer, the backend layer, and the database layer. So we have the best items by, truck name, that's a parameter. We have sales by day week. Okay, that's another widget, and best selling items by the day of week. And let's see the UI. So here I will click the track details. It will redirect me, as we saw in the code, into the details.js files. And there are basically 4 widgets that I can start filtering by from date, to date, and all kinds of truck brands that I would like to present the data. So here I have the best items by this specific truck, and I can see which ones are basically are most from revenue perspective are basically the best and the highest revenue that I sell for that specific truck. I can see how it goes from revenue based on the day. So looks like Sunday is my most successful day. The revenues is 3 million and something, and also looks like Saturday is very strong. Basically, Saturday is the most profit day in the week for that specific truck. I can see here the best-selling items by day of the week, which item basically are mostly sale for each week on Sunday, Monday, and all the rest of the days. So looks like people really like the lean burrito bar. I think that's the most profitable. Yeah, if I didn't mistake, on Sunday. Maybe on Monday, people like something else to eat. And the last one is basically best cities by day of the week. So on Sunday, for example, I really need to push and make my revenue get better on Seattle. On Sao Paulo, it looks very good. Okay, so this is basically the most profit city for that specific truck on Sunday. Okay, so that's the UI. Let me see that I didn't forget anything. Okay, we'll review this one. Those are basically all the rest of the widget that I said that I skipped. We presented the web UI, and that's good. And that's it for the front-end part. Let me get back to the presentation. Okay. Of course, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And let's wrap up and discuss about the next steps. Okay, we presented the Tasty Byte dashboard. It's basically a data apps. We created a dashboard apps for the franchise owners and we created a T-tier web application. We have all the data in Snowflake, and we presented the multi-tenant table that we use, the orders. We presented how we basically manage compute and how we scale compute, and which service account we are using for the API. For the backend or the processing layer, we use for that Express. We are using REST API for each one of the core data question, meaning that each widget on the UI at the end hit the processing layer that calls, run the query on Snowflake, and then the results are getting back to UI and presented to the user. And the last layer is basically the presentation layer in React. Again, you can choose any other frameworks to basically develop the UI. So here we can see the user, front-end, back-end, or processing layer, and storage layer, which is Snowflake. basically, this is what we built today. We built the dashboard with all the 2 pages. The one is for the dashboard that present for a specific franchise, and the one that basically drill down into a specific truck and present all kinds of business insights or KPI that I would like to be able to analyze in order to improve my business and gain more revenues. Okay, this is what basically we did for today. This is a wrap up of all the things that we did. I'll do that very quickly because each one of us basically repeat the slide again. But Alan presented the storage layer, the database layer with the multi-tenant tables on all the rest of the options and possibilities, how you can do that. Created a service account, create a warehouse, and define a compute for that warehouse. We use for the processing layer, the backend layer, Express using Node.js. And basically we are using Snowflake connector, okay, in order to connect into Snowflake. Of course, we have multiple connectors that you can use. We are not only limited to Node.js. You can use Python, Java, Golang, .NET, and more for that purpose. And I presented how you can build frontend in React. You can use any other framework, as I said. And basically everything was running locally, except for the Snowflake part. Everything is running locally, the processing and the UI. That's basically a presentation about which option you can use and languages in order to build this 3-tier application. Again, the storage layer is Snowflake. You can use each one of those verticals here, but basically you can mix and match, okay? We use the React, Express, Node.js. You can use Angular, Spring, JDBC, or other framework, Flask and Python. And again, there are all kinds of options for each one of the layers, okay? So this is a great slide that presents the possibilities. Again, we in Snowflake, you can use all kinds of languages in order to, and we have all connectors for all the languages that I mentioned, like Python, Java, Node.js, and Golang, and etc. Some consideration here that I would like to emphasize. First of all is the scalability. So again, as we discussed, the presentation and the processing layer, you can use all kinds of ways and architectures and frameworks in order to provide a high available and scalable solution, like a container, for example, like running on Kubernetes, using the auto-scaling features of those frameworks in order to be able to serve concurrent user and basically to provide good experience for your users. And we discussed on Snowflake how basically, and this is one of the best, coolest feature in Snowflake. We discussed about the 3-dimension options, how you can scale, right? You can scale across where you can run a workload on a specific dedicated warehouse that you created for that specific workload. They are totally separated. The amount of resources that you define for that specific workload, you will get them. It's not like any other framework that basically there's a kind of contentions and between the various workloads. So this is, we call it scale across. We have the scale up, where you basically can programmatically scale up the amount of resources for a single warehouse, and it can vary for extra small, medium, large, extra large, and up. And the last one is basically what Vikant also presented in his stress load demo, how you can use the multi-cluster options to scale and how Snowflake automatically auto-scales your warehouse in order to serve a higher concurrency and basically serve once SQL are queued. So this is basically the leverage multi-cluster warehouse. And how you can segregate different apps to separate warehouses so each can scale independently. This is what I discussed about the scale across and scale up. Some security consideration. Vincent also mentioned that in his demo, where basically for the data, once it lands in Snowflake, it's immediately governed and immediately secured, and it's encrypted on the storage layer, and we are using keys in order to basically encrypt the data, and there's automatically a mechanism how keys are rotated, and it is done automatically for you in Snowflake. Of course, if you would like to be extra secured, you can add your own keys into this mechanism and basically gain a much better secured algorithm. But again, the default one is it's managed for you by Snowflake. And web security, we talked a bit about calls. By the way, we didn't use here any encryption. So basically, this is not, again, this is just for the purpose of the demo. This is not a production grade application, but we didn't use any HTTPS or any other algorithm in order to secure the traffic between each one of the layers. But of course, this is something that once you go to production, it's a very basic approach for three tiers developers, three tiers application developers. Okay, some resources here that again you get all the presentation, the quick start, and you have all the resource here. Basically, I'm done. So now I believe it's a time for a Q&A. So thank you very much for this session. I hope you enjoy it. And yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Manny. Just taking a look at the Q&A. I think most of the questions are answered. I'm not sure if you want to pick something up, or is there something that keeps coming up in your conversations, in particular when you talk about front ends and visualizations in app development in Snowflake? Is there something that you'd like to highlight, Manny?
What? Sorry, Farhan, can you repeat it?
So just a very general question. Is there something that you hear from the field day in, day out, a concern, a challenge, a pitfall, something in particular that always keeps coming up in your conversation when you talk about this on the field? Is there something that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, of course, from our perspective, it's mainly on the processing layer and all the connectors that we support, and how basically you can, in any language that you're using, if it's Python or Node.js or Java, how you use this, our connector in order to integrate with the storage layer. And of course, as Alan presented, all the amazing features that we have in Snowflake, the scalability option, this is a very strong features for guys that basically develop a three tiers application, data apps application, how you can scale up very easily using the Snowflake scalability options. So those are basically the most area where we are helping guys to, while they are working with developing the data apps. Again, once you develop the processing layer, the backend layer, and the storage layer, the database layer, the frontend layer is totally separated, and you can choose any language that you will do. You just need to integrate with the backend layer.
I see. Thank you, Manny. There's a question from Vijay, who's a guest on the webinar. Asks, does it handle only the warehouse, or is it feasible to be adaptable to the lakehouse architecture behind the scenes?
Basically, under hood, we support in Snowflake all kinds of, I'll call it data modeling, okay? You can use all kinds of data modeling workload. You can use a data lake, you can use a warehouse. At the end, it all depends how you modelize the data. In our example, we created this Tasty Bytes demo. We're using the tables that basically, and you can have all kinds of pipelines that basically process the data from a raw data in data lake into aggregated data or prepared data in the presentation layer. And this is basically what we did here, okay? So specific for that question, it depends how the data is modelized in the data lake. Of course, data lake is available for you. You can use the tables, but probably if it's a raw data, usually in most cases, you would like to create some kind of a pipeline that downstreams data will be aggregated and then will be presented to the user. So it's based on your design team.
Excellent. Thank you so much. There's another question from Rajat, asks, can we use a JSON stream generated from Snowflake and feed it into Frontend and inject in Snowflake as well? Can we manipulate the warehouse using the Frontend? Is that possible?
Yeah, so in Snowflake, basically, we support three types of data. We support structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. For the JSON, yes, we at the end save the JSON, the payload as is. Okay, so that's important to say. Why we save it as is? Once the business requirement changes, if you have a view that's running on top of this payload, no need to reprocess the data again. You just need to change the query that basically run on top of this JSON semi-structured data. It's not necessarily only JSON, it might be also XML. For that specific question, of course, once you save the payload, the JSON, in the storage layer, of course, you can use that to build a query on top of it, like we did here. We didn't did that on a JSON data, if I'm not mistaken. And then basically you can use that and present it in the presentation layer and in the data application layer.
Got it. And once again, I'll encourage everyone in the audience, if you have questions that have sort of leaked into this session or they were not answered in the previous session, feel free to just type in. We have all of our experts from the morning, Alan, Venkat, Manny, all of them are here to answer your questions. If you have any of those, just type in the Q&A, type into the Q&A box, and then we'll answer your questions live. That's the beauty of Discover. You're doing it live.
Hey, Farhan, it's David here. Enjoyable session so far. Just while folks are thinking of their last questions, maybe we had a couple of questions for the audience, so maybe we could turn it around and while folks are just thinking about what they would like to ask over the last nearly 4 hours of content, we could perhaps just get a little bit of feedback. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely okay. I think it's time for us to ask some questions. So folks, just so you know, there's something that we made out for you. It's a tiny little survey, just some 3 or 4 questions. But what we want to get from you and understand from you is, was this session helpful? Was the content relevant? Was it up to the mark? Was there something specific that you were looking for? Because this is something new that we are doing. All of the presentation, the demo, this is the first time that anyone has seen it. You are a few of those lucky ones who managed to get your hands on this content. So we want to get some early bird feedback from you. And for that, just created something on Slido. I'll quickly share my screen and walk you through the steps. And what we'll do is, what you can do is just quickly scan in the QR code that should be coming up on your screen in about 2 seconds, which is here. Just scan this QR code or go to slido.com and enter these 7 digits, the number that you see on your screen, 1705261. You'll have somebody paste it for you in the chat window, or maybe I can do it. Let's see. This is for everyone. Go to slido.com and enter this number. You should be able to get into this survey, or you can scan this QR code. Just whip out your mobile phone, scan this QR code, and let's dive into a couple of questions that we had for you. While we have people joining in, let's see. Yeah, so this is the first question. How can we enable you better? I know we've been doing a lot of these sessions. We've been running Discover for the past 2 months. There's one more Best of Summit that is also planned, and we are going to bring you some really hot off the press content from the summit that's happening in Vegas just a couple of weeks from now. For those of you who will be joining us at the summit, we'll see you there. But for those of you who are not going to be traveling, we'll get you all of that content that we'll have from the summit in Discover. So worry not, we'll do this once again. And while we do it, we are already getting a good bunch of responses. 15, oh wow, 20 people already in the survey. How can we enable you better? Certification coupons. Yes, we hear you. We are going to get you something, definitely. End-to-end use case walkthroughs. For those of you who are selecting end-to-end use case walkthroughs, what would be nice for us to understand is there a particular industry or a particular use case that you have in mind that you'd want us to walk you through? I don't know, manufacturing or banking, financial services, and it'd be great if you could narrow it down for us. I don't know, if it's in banking, financial services, is it claims litigation, insurance, in manufacturing? Is it predictive maintenance? What is it? What is it that you're really looking for? How can we enable you better? Because we want to do this in a more focused fashion. And the only way we'll be able to do it is to get some feedback from you, understand what you want, and then deliver that content virtually or maybe face-to-face. Yeah, we have a bunch of people who want face-to-face hands-on labs. So we hear you. We're going to be doing hands-on labs as well. There's a we keep running user groups. We do run build.local series as well. Snowflake developer days, as we call it. We'll be doing it in the next couple of months as well. So make sure you join us from where you are in the region, or just reach out to us, write to us on LinkedIn, and we'll get you all of this information. We have about 40 people who have already done this. So we're going to move to the next question. There's one more participant who's ranking. Your vote matters. It's a democracy. So we'll take that vote as well before we move on to the next one. Certification coupons, definitely. That's the number one ask. We hear you. We'll get you something in your inbox really shortly. So moving on to the next question. What worked for you in this session? Was it end-to-end? Was it live Q&A? The comprehensive relevant content? Tell us what worked so that we can ensure we keep doing this. Excellent. Relevant content. Thank you so much. Well, thank you to our esteemed speakers who have graciously agreed to help us with this mission. Alan joined us from the UK very early in the morning. I don't know, 4:30, 5 a.m. He was there with us. So thank you so much, Alan, and the team, Venkat, Benny, all of you have been wonderful. We hear you. Okay, so this worked. Excellent. So let's move on to the next one. What did you not like about this session? We are always open to feedback. So let's see. What did you not like about this session? I'm guessing it's because the session is not recorded. That's probably one of them. That's session not recorded. Remember, folks, there's a link.
I think that's leading the witness there, isn't it, Farhan? I'm not sure whether that's allowed in surveys.
I don't know. I mean, I think the audience, we have a bit of a connect. It's more heart to heart that I have with the audience here in India and in the region. So I get you. I completely understand it. But remember, folks, there is a link that we shared earlier during the session. We are going to post all of the content, the slides, and the quick starts in that link. We'll populate that link shortly, so you'll get that. You'll get that as well. But it's great to see that a lot of you loved it. The session was great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate this feedback.
I have a comment. Thanks so very much for this survey. Basically, as I can see here, there are two topics that we need to address. The sessions are too short. Okay, thanks. Points taken. And also the pace is too fast. Okay, great to see the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manny. With that, we are already done with this poll, and this is the main question that we'd like to ask from you. Was there something that we did not cover? What is it that you'd like to see more of from Snowflake? And go gaga on this question. It could be from any of the workloads. It could be from today's session as well. It could be from what you are expecting or from what we have already been doing for the past couple of months. Is there something in particular that you'd like to see more of from us? And we'll try to get you that content, we promise. All right, no, that's very positive. Thank you. AI integration with Snowflake. All right, data governance, performance improvement. There's a whole bunch of performance improvement sessions, data governance sessions that we did in our part one. But don't worry, we are going to be doing this back again in July, where we are going to be doing the Best of Summit. So we are going to talk about machine learning. We are going to talk about AI. We are going to talk about performance optimization. We are going to be bringing Nick back. Everyone loves Nick. So we're going to be bringing Nick back, and he's going to walk us through some of the performance optimization content. And we'll also have Rishu, who is our data science machine learning veteran. And I see a whole lot of AI and LLMs. Yes, there's a lot of announcements on LLMs at the Snowflake Summit. We are definitely going to bring you all of that content. Once again, there's one on Streamlit integration with Snowflake. Yes, we hear you. We're going to bring you that content as well. We did this at our previous Snowflake Discover. We're going to share some resources with you. We hope that it is going to be helpful. Just so you know, you can always go to quickstarts.snowflake.com. I'll quickly type it in the chat window. quickstarts.snowflake.com. You can find a lot of quick starts over there. There's a bunch of stuff on Streamlit. You can find it. And we can definitely get there. Oh, wow. There's a lot of Gen AI and LLM. So we're going to get there.
I think, guys, stay tuned, because in the summit, there's a lot of topics that are going to be presented related to LLM and generative AI, and also for the data, how we progress, how we provide more capabilities, more features for our users. Stay tuned. It will be super interesting.
Excellent. We have something on DevOps and CI/CD. I think we just came out with one blog on CI/CD. If you're not already connected with us on LinkedIn, just connect with any of us on LinkedIn. We keep posting some of the relevant content. There's something on CI/CD that you'll find in one of our reposts. Just drop us a LinkedIn connect request, and we'll get you some of this content. We're pretty active on social media. Data monetization. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. We are going to be covering data monetization and collaboration tomorrow. So if monetization collaboration is a use case that you want to understand, is something that you'd want to explore more, join us tomorrow. We are going to be covering collaboration and in particular monetization. We'll tell you all about how you can become essentially a seller on Snowflake Marketplace. So we'll do that. It's a lot of a comment/question. Key factors that would differentiate HTAP from transactional applications Snowflake would possibly fit for HTAP only currently, as per my understanding. Not sure if many or any of our panelists would like to take this up as a comment. Yeah.
I can answer here. If I understood correctly, the question is basically the support of OLTP and OLAP. So yes, we are HTAP, and we provide both functionalities for analytics and transactional. I do advise you to read the documentation. There is a great documentation how basically you can manage them both in Snowflake as a data cloud platform. If you have more questions, just feel free to ask, and I will provide you all the necessary details. But to answer the question, we support both of them. Yes.
Thank you so much, Benny. There's another one on comparison with other leading analytical databases when you propose Snowflake to top management. We keep doing a lot of enablement stuff. We're doing one more webinar series virtually. So if you don't mind connecting on LinkedIn, I can share some of the other resources with you. There's another series that we are doing for the region. So if you don't mind, just connect. I'll send you the link, and I'll see you on that webinar as well. Gen AI, there's data ops in Snowflake. Definitely, we're going to cover multimodal AI in Snowflake. There's a lot of AI stuff. Incredibly informative. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we have more stacks in Quickstart, Java, Spring, Python. Yes, we are continuously innovating and building on our quick starts. You'll see more of it. There are so many announcements coming out during the summit. I think by that time, or maybe post that, you'll see a lot of the content, very fresh content on our websites, whichever one you follow. Make sure that you follow us on some social media platform, preferably LinkedIn. We're going to be posting a lot of the summit content LinkedIn, and we're going to be seeing you in July, for the best of summit. There's one question over here from Krunal. Not sure if anyone from panelists would like to take this. Will Snowflake allow to deploy React Angular app deployment in Snowflake Cloud?
Yeah, I can answer this one. We presented today basically only the storage layer was on top of Snowflake, and all the backend and the front end was basically totally decoupled from the Snowflake framework. Of course, we are looking all the time to improve, and we are we have our native app solution, which basically you will be able to deploy the data apps end-to-end in Snowflake. Again, in the next summit, a lot of new features and new details are going to publish. So I think if, the ones who has this question, stay tuned in the summit. You'll be surprised how much new content we're going to add here. For specific managing data apps internally in Snowflake end-to-end, and how basically you can deploy React and Angular in Snowflake. But again, in the summit, they will provide a lot of details.
Thank you so much, Manny. And with that, we have one participant typing. I will leave the poll open, the Slido survey open. You can keep typing in. I will just stop sharing my screen so that we can see all of us. You have all been incredible. Thank you so much to the audience who have stayed with us throughout this journey. Remember, we are meeting again tomorrow. We are going to be doing collaboration, monetization. So if that's a use case that you'd like to explore, I would definitely recommend attending the session tomorrow as well. And with that, let me see if there are any last questions. All right. For other sessions that are happening parallelly, yes, of course, you can just drop me a wave on LinkedIn, and I'll share the links with you, all of the relevant links with you, the sessions that we are doing parallelly along with Discover. Let me see if we have, okay, we have any last questions. Session links. We'll get to all of the resources to you. As I said before, we'll get you the resources in the link that we shared earlier. For those of you who missed that link, I will quickly paste it in the chat window. Just a moment. This is the link. This is where we are going to be hosting all of our content. So make sure that you refresh this a week from now, perhaps. And with that,
I think we're about to wrap, Farhan. Thank you so much for hosting today. Thank you, Manny and team, for joining us. Thanks for the feedback, everyone. I can say we're thinking about how we get content up and how we provide bite-sized chunks. I know people want the full recordings, but something that's a bit more meaningful. So I really appreciate it. And most of all, have a wonderful rest of your day. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Discover.
Thank you, everyone.
Great.